do Western countries outperform the hell out of both Muslim countries and all other countries? Now, when I say this, everybody always gets really angry. So just calm the hell down. That's the first thing. All the excuses that your brain is producing, they're nothing but cope. Because most Muslims have all this like national pride, this collectivist mindset. Well, we're better than everyone. Oh. So when I say this, their brain instantly reverts to pussy mode. And they say, well, actually, it's because USA invaded Afghanistan like this one time ago, and every time we invent something, USA kills that person. You sound like a pussy. You are a pussy, and you are making excuses for why you're a pussy, which makes you a double pussy. So let's get that straight. Get this garbage out of your mind, because you're never going to improve. You're going to be like 50 years old, and you're going to be broke. And when people ask you why you're broke, you're going to say, well, it's because the Roman Empire. It's because, geopolitics, America, the Jews. You're just going to start making up BS. There's no point in you clinging on to history and trying to use it as an excuse for why you're a loser. And this goes for all Muslim countries, right? Like, this is what I see a lot of memes with, like Algeria, like Afghanistan, like Iran, Iraq. They just make excuses. They're like, oh, we're poor because Afghanistan. It's because USA invaded us. This is such a pussy mindset. Stop blaming other people. Okay? So I will now debunk every single stupid conspiracy theory that you have in your mind. Firstly, all Muslim countries are broke because USA keeps invading them every time they invent something. BS. I'm from Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan was never touched by USA or any Western country. Not even close. We still didn't invent anything. I didn't invent anything. No Uzbek invented anything. Obviously, in history, we might have invented a couple of things. But overall, in the modern world, we haven't done anything. Same with all the Muslim countries around us. Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan. They didn't really do anything. Like, fair enough. They have their own things to be proud of. They've very safe countries. They're very warm, welcoming. So many good attributes, 100%. But as far as inventing things, let me ask you this. That's another thing that's going to piss you off. When was the last time you saw or heard of an exceptional person from a Muslim country? Not people who moved to the USA or like some Western country and then became successful who are Muslims. I'm talking about from Muslim countries. Why is there no like Arab, no like Afghan, Iran, Iraqi UFC fighters? Why doesn't anybody come to our mind? Whenever you think of hyper successful people, I think Conor McGregor, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, so many people. And none of them are from the same ethnicity as me or you. And that should make you question things. What is going on? And this can't be just because of historical geopolitics, bro. I'll explain to you exactly what's going on. And by the end of this video, I will explain it so concisely and clearly. You are literally going to rewatch this like 10 times. And in fact, if every single Muslim rewatched this video 3 times, this entire issue will be fixed and we'll be inventing things again. I say again because of the point I'm about to make next. People try to tell you that the reason we don't invent anything is because we are Islamic. It's because in Islam we have to be conservative. Islam doesn't like innovation. BS. In the golden age of Islam, we invented just about everything. Algebra, soap, like cologne, so many things. Wallahi, we were more inventive than USA and any other Western country. And we followed Islam really well back then. It's just now we developed this slave mindset where we think that everything is extremely superficial. And I'm about to get into why that is. But firstly, I want to relate it to your specific situation so you can understand it from your own point of view. Imagine you decide that you're going to start going to the gym every single day from next month. So you set this goal for yourself. Most likely, 99.99% of people won't do that. Muslim or otherwise. Nobody will do this because you can't just create these things. You can't just force yourself to do something. Your family thinks you can do this. They can think from now on, you're doing this, and then you'll suddenly just be really consistent in that. You understand where I'm going with this, right? Why can't you go to gym even though you set this as a goal for yourself? And then someone like me, I have no problem going to the gym. I don't like going to the gym, but if I want to, I can go every day. When I was doing martial arts, I was going every single day, no problems at all when I was competing. Why? It's not because you're lazy. It's because you aren't your own slave. You can't tell yourself that this is what you're gonna do and you expect yourself to follow it. Because you don't value fitness yet. You don't value, even if you value fitness, you don't value going to the gym. I valued martial arts because it connected with something deep inside me from my childhood trauma. I hated that I was a pussy. I was like, I'm going to train, no man, I don't care. And that aligned with the pain and like the spiritual, everything just aligned, right? And I had no problem going. This is why some Muslims are able to pray 5 times a day easy and some Muslims struggle. I struggle with this. And the reason for that is because we haven't completely installed the truth into our brains, the truth of what Islam is. If we truly dedicate ourselves to Islam, like some Muslims are able to do, they will have no problem praying 5 times because they will want to, because they wake up and they think about this dunya and the hereafter. They're like, I need to do something. When they think about that, the first thing that comes to their mind is, how can I please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so my life gets better, so I go to Jannah? They will start praying. This is why when people do something really bad, most of the time, they are able to start praying a lot more after. Because now the action of going to the mosque is connected with alleviating that pain of guilt. This is how I got into Islam, by the way, because I wasn't always very religious, and that created guilt inside me that made me go back to Allah. And you can essentially do this with anything. But the problem is, and I know I mentioned this just then, but I'm going to say it again. Muslim families don't understand that there are deeper aspects of a human being. When Muslim parents want you to do something like study, for example, they don't instill the value into you. They tell you have to study and they expect you to do it, and they get angry if you don't do it. But that's just not how we are wired. Muslims study really well in university. In high school, they kill it because their parents are forcing them to, and it's pretty easy. But right after university, they just become average people. None of them excel to the level that the white people do. And why is that? The same thing with Asians, they don't excel. White people, that guy, this white dude who excels in science or IT or whatever over all the other Muslims, like Bill Gates, for example. The Muslims are really good at computer science. They all study computer science. Their parents forced them. But why is Bill Gates still a better computer science than all of them? His parents didn't force him. Nobody forced him. His parents didn't give a damn what he did. It's because he valued it. He found value in what he was doing. Now, this is where we get a little bit deeper. Imagine there are 2 people, Abdullah and what's a white name? Jake. They both go into the same high school. Jake has an immense interest for psychology. Abdullah also has an immense interest for psychology. But Abdullah's parents want him to be an engineer. You can study psychology on the side, but we're all engineers and it's such a good occupation. If you want to make us proud, you should be an engineer. So he goes and he studies engineering. He's very disciplined. Studies. Jake, he doesn't give a damn about engineering, doesn't study it for a second. He just studies psychology because he's interested. He fails all other subjects. Only likes psychology. After high school, obviously, Abdullah is doing engineering and Jake goes to psychology. At some point, the force stops working. Abdullah, like he's studying and he's forcing himself to study. He studies for 1 hour, 2 hours a day, no problem. Jake, because he's so interested in psychology, he studies all day long. Every single video he watches, every single person he interacts with, he draws something about psychology into his brain. The TV, everything. His brain just works on psychology. Jake doesn't give a damn about engineering. So he studies and then he goes and does whatever he wants to do. At some point, the difference is going to be absolutely massive. After university, Abdullah will just work so he can provide for his family. Jake will work because he's obsessed, he's addicted to learning and understanding. Jake is the person who's going to become the next Freud, next Carl Jung, John Piaget, Dostoevsky. He's going to become that guy. Abdullah is going to be an average engineer, average Abdul, for the rest of his life. If they're also swapped and Abdullah had the support from people around him and had the mentality of a Westerner where he values individuality, he would have become a psychology king. That's how it works. Now, this is just an example of an average person trying to study. There are people who don't give a damn about anything and they purely just have a really crazy interest in some sport. Muslim parents will say, why are you interested? Why are you playing football all day? That's stupid. That's not going to pay your rent. Go do something else. That guy might have just killed off the next Muslim Cristiano Ronaldo. This happens all the time. I know it sounds crazy, but this is the single reason all the Muslims are failing. Because they have someone behind them trying to pull them in this direction, the society, everyone. And this is a new thing. This didn't happen in the golden age of Islam. It's just a problem with the slave mindset. I don't even know why we have that. Probably something to do with history, but I don't study history because I'm not a nerd and I'm not a retard. So for me, all I care about is reality. And that's how you should think as well. Because all this knowledge you have that you learned about the Roman Empire, it doesn't serve you. It just gives you excuses and it gives you something to comment under my videos. What you need to be doing is gaining practical knowledge. I've read hundreds of books on psychology maybe. I've watched hundreds of podcasts. Because I enjoy it. I didn't do it because someone was forcing me to. And now I'm able to decipher these sociological phenomena in a way that's going to help you in your life. That's why this video is so powerful. This is why I'm such a Chad. Do you understand? It's not because I studied the Roman Empire. I don't give a damn about that. I just studied what's applicable. But this is going a little bit beyond the topic. The problem with force is that it eventually dies out. Someone can force you to hit these rocks for like 10 hours a day. But they can't force you to become the best rock hitter in the world. But a guy who enjoys hitting rocks, who's not getting forced by someone else, he's going to become the best rock hitter in the world. And it applies to everything. All the other countries still haven't figured it out. China, Vietnam, Korea, North Korea, even Korea, even Japan. Even these extremely traditionally successful countries who are producing many, many things. China is so good at production. Oh, they're smart as hell, bro. They all went to they all have an extremely good understanding of science, IT, technology. But they don't make even a fraction of what someone in the USA makes. Because innovation is more important than production. They have 100 kids in one factory with some guy forcing them to sew really quickly. That's force. There are parents who are forcing their kids to study 10 hours a day in China. That's force. And it gets you somewhere. It's better than nothing. It's better than just being a lazy bum. But some guy like Elon Musk who just enjoys the hustle, just enjoys technology, and nobody stops him from pursuing that. He's going to obliviate the entire country. One guy can be richer than an entire country by following his values. That's the power of personal value. I watched the Jordan Peterson podcast a little while ago, and this is one thing he said that really stuck with me. The West has figured out that the salvation of the state is in the individual and not the group. So we Muslims, our number one priority is our group identity. We want to do what the group does. I'm an Arab, I'm a Muslim, so I have to do this. Me being an Uzbek, I'm an Uzbek, I need to make, plov, I need to work at construction, I need to ride horses. No, I need to do what I feel like I need to do. That's it. It's simple as that. I bet you will never find a single Uzbek that talks and acts like me. You would have never guessed I was Uzbek if I didn't say it. Because Uzbekistan has very strict conservative norms. And some of it is really good. Respect, the culture is beautiful. I think Uzbekistan is one of the top countries in the world in terms of living. But I will admit that most Uzbeks are too cowardly to question authority. I'm not talking about like the government or whatever, right? I'm talking about to question the norms that no longer make any sense. The weddings, listening to your parents for your whole life, that doesn't make any more sense, but they still follow it. And this is the same thing with so many people. But my job for you today is to rewire your brain so that you don't fall into this mindset. It's pretty crazy, like when you truly focus your energy on the thing that you really enjoy, you can absolutely alleviate that. The power of human beings comes from being focused on one thing for a very long time. This is exactly how humans evolved, by the way. The monkeys and all the other animals, like even like really old humans like cavemen, they couldn't do this. They just got a stick and they just hit things. That's it. But when humans started being able to focus, they would be able to stare at like a stick for a really long time, for example, and they would find applications for it. They'd be like, okay, I can put this rock on top and I can use it as a hammer. I can get this piece of, stick and create an arrow and I can defeat my enemies. Focus. With enough focus on one thing, humans were able to invent guns, rockets, from nothing, plain land. And we, in the modern world, we have no focus, so we can't do that anymore. But once we regain the ability to focus on one thing, something we are naturally wired for, that's when we'll be able to succeed. So this is why I think Muslim countries aren't succeeding. And I 100% have confidence on this, and I will stand by any debater when it comes to this topic. Some people will hear this message and think it's soft. Oh, he's talking about following his passions. Oh, what's he going to tell me about next? Mental health, LGBT, like that. They just think this is soft. So it's soft, huh? So it's soft to follow your passions. Why does USA dominate every combat sport in the world? Not in the world, but boxing, wrestling, a bunch of other ones. They just dominate them. Look at America. The average American is fat and overweight. He's not doing anything with his life. But there are some Americans, like John Jones, like Mike Tyson, they just absolutely kill the competition. When you go to a country like Uzbekistan or Kyrgyzstan or Kazakhstan, everyone is an incredible fighter. Like, people are really good at fighting there. I've been to their gyms. And yet, there's not a single good, like really valuable UFC fighter from Uzbekistan. There's a couple from Kazakhstan, but it's very limited. USA, Australia, and some other, New Zealand, they are very soft countries. Nobody can fight. Like in Australia, nobody can fight except for me. And yet, they have more UFC champions than Uzbekistan will ever have, probably. They have like Volkanovski. They got Robert Whittaker. There's the other guy, Dan. There's a lot of there's like three. Like I think right now there's three reigning UFC champions from Australia, which is crazy. Why? Why? It's because there is some guy in Australia who is really stupid, really bad at math, really bad at reading, but he's really interested in martial arts, and his family won't hold him back. Even if his family are all lawyers, they won't hold him back from doing martial arts because they place value on the individual over any other BS. So this guy will read everything about martial arts, will train every single day, and he will become a champion. Meanwhile, there is some guy in Uzbekistan who is an incredible fighter, naturally, just a beast. But his family forces him to be a tax accountant. He's sitting in the office right now as we speak. If that guy went to training in his village, he could have been the next John Jones. He could have been the next Mike Tyson. But he won't. Because family honor. This manifests itself in so many ways, man. In Uzbekistan, there is this archetypical hero we have. Well, not like, archetypical, like this certain standard that we expect a really good person to follow. In Uzbekistan, there's a guy named Bahadur Jalolov who's like a really incredible boxer. I've been following him for a while. He's in the Olympics. His story is that his whole life he wanted to be, I believe, either a football player or a wrestler, one of those two. But I think a wrestler, actually, he wanted to be a wrestler. It's like a really strong dude. But his father wanted him to be a boxer because his father is a boxing coach. So he scrapped his dream. He stopped doing wrestling to please his father, and now he's a pretty decent boxer. He's not that good. He's good at Olympics, but he's not like a world level. That's the archetypical hero. They love the fact that he didn't pursue his passions, but he followed his father, and then he became someone successful. But the guy is built for combat sports. You can tell. So he would have dominated pretty much any sport. I believe if he did wrestling instead of boxing, he would have been a way better champion. He'd be a world champion right now. In the West, the archetypical hero is someone who doesn't listen to what people tell him, doesn't listen to his father, questions everyone, and does what's right. Muhammad Ali is a prime example. He questioned everything. His father wanted him to be this. He said, no, I'm going to be a boxer. His family wanted to be a Christian. He said, no, call me Muhammad Ali. I'm a Muslim. I'm not going to war because it's haram. Just said what he believed. He went against the community, and then he upgraded the culture with him. That's why he's so celebrated. He's a Western hero. And that's what a hero is supposed to look like. That's the person that's going to go way further than the guy who's being forced. That's why USA has such a strong army as well. Because fair enough, right? Like in like Korea, North Korea, and China, they train the hell out of their soldiers. They force them to do like 10 hours of training a day. But then there are some absolute badasses in USA, like David Goggins, for example, who are really interested in the military and they become Navy SEALs and they like start living for this life. And they become heroes. Like the incredibly legendary snipers from USA, from the, those like warriors from USA. Even though the country is soft, there's like gays and like all this weak stuff. But the people at the top of the hierarchy are always absolute monsters. And those are the few people who innovate the hell out of the society. This is the simple truth. So if you want to become successful, you need to figure out what you are good at and then place value on it. Now, one good way to do that is to link whatever your goal is with the rest of your life. That's the easiest shortcut to do this. Because most likely, if you're watching this, Islam has some sort of a value in your life. It's probably the top thing on your structure, on your hierarchy. So you need to figure out, okay, I want to become a millionaire. I want to become, like the most famous like speaker, or a most famous, I don't know, like a technology inventor or something. You need to link that with the rest of your values. And you need to follow it without feeling any guilt. You need to be like, okay, I'm going to invent a technology. I'm going to get so good at what I do that eventually I'm going to invent a technology that's going to help people pray. That's going to help people avoid haram somehow. I don't know how technology works. But say you create this goal. And now you can pursue this without the guilt that you've been conditioned to feel from your family. Because for you, Islam will be more important than your family. Hopefully, some people will still fail this because their family is their god. I stuff a lot. But when you ignore what people are trying to get you to do and instead you listen to your intuitions, what do I feel like is right for me? It's going to be difficult because we are conditioned to feel guilty about following our own instincts. But if you link some other things that are important to you, then you can pursue this goal really, really hard. It's your passion. That's where your goal lies. Why am I talking to you right now on camera? I've always enjoyed talking and I've enjoyed psychology and influence. When I first went to university, I did this presentation on psychology where I was allowed to make up my own things to an extent. Like I was able to play with it. Everybody's presentations were super boring. When I went up on that stage, I wasn't even trying. Something clicked in my mind and I just started I ignored the script. I just started talking off my head. I was talking about child development. I was making jokes. I was saying incredible things. The entire classroom went silent and they were just locked with me like, what the hell? Afterwards, they all came up to me and asked me questions like, how, that's the best lecture I've ever heard. That's amazing. I learned so much. Those people learned more from my lecture than the entire semester of that subject. So that's when I realized I had a knack for speaking. Now, I speak better in public places than on camera, just to let you know. But this is still a part of my journey. It helps to fulfill my purpose, which is to help Muslim men become better versions of themselves. Hopefully, if you watched up to this point, this episode would have changed your life, inshallah. This is the way I designed it. If you implement these lessons, if you make this a part of your core thinking, your core cognition, concept is going to change your life 100% guaranteed. I'm making this podcast for free now. No monetization whatsoever because YouTube banned me. So do me a favor, follow it and turn on the notifications. And the best thing you can do to sort of, expand the knowledge, expand your own knowledge and the knowledge of the ummah to improve your community. Get this video and share it around with your family, with your friends, community. Post it around in Muslim forums that you're in, because this will change people's lives. I'm 100% sure of this.